Hi YouTube, it's Alan Sugano. I'm the president of ADS Consulting Group, and today's topic is about vSAN configuration. So vSAN, if you don't know, is VMware's hyperconverged solution where you basically have a bunch. You can have two or more servers, and they have local hard disks. And basically, what happens is you create the local storage on both of the hosts, two or more hosts, to create a virtual SAN. So you don't have to purchase the SAN. You can basically use direct attached storage to create that virtual SAN. It works pretty well for the most part. There is a little bit of a learning curve, and you have to configure the hardware a certain way, blah, blah, blah. But so we were reviewing a new client system, and they had vSAN, and we're looking at it, and I was looking at it, I'm like, this can't be right, and unfortunately it was. So when you configure vSAN, you have to create what's called a fault domain and a stretched cluster. And so VMware's terminology is very confusing because usually a stretched cluster historically means it's geographically stretched, like, between cities or across the country or something like that. In this case, a stretched cluster with a fault domain basically means that if I lose one host, the data are replicated to the other host so the whole storage doesn't go down. In this particular case, the previous vendor that set up vSAN didn't do this. And I'm like, no, that's crazy. That can't be true. It turns out, unfortunately, it was true. So they actually have a 4-node cluster, and the way their vSAN is configured, if they lose just one of the nodes, their entire storage goes down along with all the VMs. Wah, wah. So we're in the process of fixing that, but just in case, right, I would think that nobody would be crazy enough to configure it this way, or maybe they just weren't aware of how to configure it. But we've seen it out in production, and we know it's true because, the client said, you know what? Now that you mention it, when we were doing our UPS testing, none of the VMs came up until all of the hosts came up. I'm like, oh my gosh, right? That's terrible. So it negates the fact for having a cluster and to begin with, which is high availability. It's actually worse than having a standalone host, because if you lose just one host in the 4-node cluster, everything tanks. Oh my goodness. So anyway, just make sure that you don't have your vSAN configured that way. If you need help setting up vSAN, we have a lot of experience doing it. We can configure it correctly for you. You can send an email to, I'll put it here, info@adscon.com. Thanks a lot for listening. If you like this content, please boink, hit the subscribe button, boink, hit the like button. It does help out the channel. Stay safe out there. Make sure your vSAN is configured for a fault domain and stretch cluster, so you don't go down in case you lose one node, because that would be very bad and you would be very sad. Sadness. Salmonella. I don't know. Anyway. Okay. Stay safe out there. Thanks a lot for listening. We'll talk to you soon.